All right, so the next thing that we are going to look at is the creating of waypoints. Now, as we've discussed just now, a waypoint is a specific point that I create on the map that I either want to display on the GPS when I drive past it, or I want to use it when I create a route. Now, in this example, it's just one that I've got here. We will go into the detail now. Let me just get back to our BaseCamp. And I think not to clog things up too much, I'm going to move to our clean database, and I'm going to work from that one. All right. Okay, so basically here we've started with a blank screen. I have created a list over here with some information. Okay, for training that I'm going to use to actually start working towards creating the route. So the first thing that we're going to look at is, as I said, the creating of waypoints. There's a number of ways to do that. Now, maybe what I should have shown in the beginning as well is in BaseCamp at the top, I've got my toolbars over here that gives me shortcuts to everything that I want to do. And as is standard on the computer or in Microsoft, as I hover my mouse over the icon, it actually gives me a hint on what that particular icon is. Now, in order to change what I see here, because not everything is always visible in the toolbar, is that if I go to edit, now with that, okay, under view, under view, there's the option for toolbars where I can select which toolbars I do want to see and which I don't want to see. Now, I think standard, if I remember correctly, your edit features, for instance, is not standard on there. So that I usually switch on so to have them at hand. And those are my edit features over here on the left hand side. The other one that I like to see is my the detail level. That is where I can set the detail of what I want to see on the screen. The device transfer, that is those two icons over there from that I can easily transfer information to and from my device. The drawing tools, that is the drawing tools that I have to draw my tracks or to move points around or whatever the case is. And then the other important one is the map products. Now with that one selected, I can from here, I can change what map I want to see, etc., etc. If that is not there, I physically have to go to maps, to the menu item, and then change it from there. I prefer to have it in my on my icons there, and that is why I have it selected over there. All right. Okay. So if I look at my icons that is over there, you will see that one with a little flag is a new waypoint. So if I click on that one, I can go to anywhere on my screen and click, and it will create me a waypoint, and it will automatically name it 001. Now, because this is a clean database, it starts with 001, and as I carry on and I create new ones, you will see that it will add 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the case is, and so on. Now, let us just undo those last two. Now, if I double click on that icon, it opens up this property page where now I can change the name. Let's call it Garmin1. I can change the symbol to whatever I want to change it to. And I can choose what I want to display. Do I only want to display the symbol? Do I want to display the symbol with a name, or do I want to display the symbol with a comment? Now, I'm going to leave it there, and there's my position. Now, what I do a lot of times is that if I get a coordinate that I want to create a waypoint with, although in the top left-hand corner of the screen, if you watch there, as I move my cursor around, it will actually show me the coordinates. But to try and move it here to the exact coordinate that I have to create my waypoint is very difficult. So I will go anywhere on the map or in the vicinity of where I know it is, and I will create my waypoint. And then if I go here, I can now go and I can change my coordinates by highlighting that and retyping in the correct waypoint of the coordinate, and now you'll see it's gone from my screen. So if I right click on that waypoint and I say show on map, it will actually show me where I have created that particular waypoint. And now I can use that waypoint in my routes and whatever I want to do with it. Obviously, something important to remember when I create routes, routes doesn't work too well if there's not roads associated with that route. Like this route, for instance, sits here in the middle of nowhere, so it's not going to be of much use to me to have it there. So ideally, I will have routes on existing roads that I will travel to and so on. How to deal with these ones that in the middle of nowhere, we will touch on that later on if we have time. All right. All right, the other way to do that is that now, obviously now you will see if you look at my cursor, it is still my waypoint tool cursor that I see. If I change it to that little pen icon, now I can move my screen around with a hand. If I leave it at that one, everywhere where you click, I will actually create a waypoint. Now you'll see on this section of road that I've gone in here, there's a couple of points of interest. There's the Ganaflakte Farm, there's Totsplaas, Cameel Farm, the Visgat Airstrip. Now let's say I want to make a waypoint for that Visgat Airstrip because that is something that I need to go to. The one way to do that is I move my mouse on top of that. You'll see that if I move it on there, it will actually briefly display the name. Then I right click on it and I say new waypoint. And now on the left-hand side here, you will see that it has created a waypoint called Visgat Airstrip. All right. The other option, the other way that you can do, and that option is courtesy of DC Tron on the forum. He actually put that on our tips and tricks webpage. And that is if you on your keyboard hold down the control key and you press T, it actually opens up this little screen here, locate coordinates, center at, where you can actually type in the coordinates that you are interested in, and then you can say create a waypoint, or you can say recenter to center your screen on that particular waypoint. So if I go here now and I say create waypoint, it has now created a waypoint at that exact same position, and the name it gave was the name, the coordinates for that particular one. Now, as I say, I can double click on that and I can rename it to make sense to me. The other option that I can do is to right click on that waypoint, and you will see there's a rename option over there that I can use. And the third option is if you've selected it and you click on it again, you can actually type over it and press enter and give it a new name. All right, so that is different ways of creating waypoints. Now, while we are here, I'm just going to delete this one that we've created, and let me just zoom out here, and let us just zoom in here, and we go here, and let's just create a new waypoint over there to have another waypoint that we can use. Just now. All right. Just while we're on here, when we look at our screen, sorry, I've zoomed in. Let me just wait for the screen to update. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and then we'll see all our points of interest that is in here. And from here, you will see that that toolbar that I've selected, which shows me the detail level. If I select lowest here, you'll see that I don't see any of those points of interest. I just see the roads, and from here I can step it up and I'll see a little bit more, see a little bit more. Personally, I prefer to use the highest so that I can see exactly what goes on the screen. If I work in a city or a town and there's a lot of points that obscures the way, I will actually play around with these settings to minimize some of the points that I have seen and so on. All right, that is creating waypoints. All right, now the big thing, creating and working or changing routes. I think this is where the actual question started, is how to do this and how does this work and so on. And I'm going to try and explain to you the way I do that. Now, as a bit of a background, basically what I will do is we will plan to say that, okay, like this example over here, we will plan a trip to the Transkei. And we start dreaming and we start asking questions, talking to people, and we get a general idea of where we want to go. And then I will basically create, let's say I want to end up, as we see on the screen here, walk to Waterfall Bluff. That is where I want to end up. I will create a route from home up to there and let BaseCamp draw a route for me to show me what is the fastest route that it will take to get me there. And from there, I will start playing around with it and create points in between, decide, no, I want to stop over here, I want to stop over there, and I will start creating my trip, and it will start to get to a point where I am actually done with it. I can load it to my GPS, pack the car, and go off on my trip. Okay, sorry, that was too quick. From here, I was supposed to go to BaseCamp. All right. And for the purpose of this exercise, I just want to move back because there's something that I've highlighted in the other database, in my default database, that I will just want to show you guys because that confuses a lot of people a lot of times. And let's just load up here. Let's see if I can find it quickly. I have created a waypoint, and now I don't know where I have created that waypoint. I don't think it is that one. No, sorry, let me just find that. I should have made a note of where I've stored that one. We'll get to that. We'll get to that just now. I can't find it now. In Tracks for Africa, let me just get to a particular screen over here. Let me just zoom in. I wanted to find that particular screen. If I zoom in, let me just zoom in and give everybody a chance to catch up. You will see that where these two roads join, it is open in between them. Sometimes what happens is, especially if this junction road is a private road, Tracks for Africa actually make a break over there, which stops you from navigating or routing through there without being inside. And that can sometimes confuse you quite a lot if you want to navigate to a point and it doesn't want to navigate you there, but then the two roads are not joined together. But we'll see if we can find another example just now. All right, to start off with navigation, the first thing that we need to choose is the activity profile that we have. What are we going to do? Are we going to be driving? Are we going to do bicycling? Are we going to do walking, hiking? What are we going to do? Because obviously, if I drive, it will follow routes or existing roads. If I walk, I can walk through a park between two streets and it will actually route it through there because I can walk through there, but I cannot drive through there. Then I remember on the forum there were some questions that somebody asked about. They said that they created routes with the off-roading profile. I've looked at that and I could not quite figure out what the difference is between off-roading and normal driving. What I have figured out is that on the GPS unit, on my e-treks, I can actually choose when I want a route to a place. I can choose to either go on the fastest route, the shortest route, or off-road. Now, off-road will just draw a straight line from where I am now to that particular point, and it will just give me a general direction of where I can go. And that is basically what this direct option is. So if I choose direct over here, and let me just close this here, I'll get back to that. If I create a point over there and a point over there, it will just draw a straight line between those two points. So it's a direct line, it doesn't follow existing paths or whatever the case is. So basically it's just a line that shows on my map. All right, so let me undo that and undo that. All right, so to go back to my activity profile driving, now if I select there, if you go to the bottom here and it says edit activity profile, the option that I want to go to is the one that says routing. Now, obviously now I've got driving selected, so everything that I change is going to affect the driving profile. Now, if I go to routing, you'll see here that I've got different options here. First of all is the route preference. So how do I want to BaseCamp to calculate my route? By the faster time or by the shorter distance? Now this I can set here, and then I can calculate my route. I can change it, I can recalculate the route and so on. I can just have one or two options selected. Now, if I'm not mistaken, if I select motorcycle, for instance, then it opened up this one, curvy roads. So the guys with the bikes that likes the curvy roads and want to touch their pedals to the tar, they will choose this one to say that is the route that they prefer. All right, but I'm not on the motorbike. I drive with a vehicle, so that is what I'll use. At the moment, it is set at faster time, so it is set there. Then we come to avoidances. Now, one of the things that I have learned over the years, and that is something that the Tracks for Africa group has highlighted as well, is if you've got anything selected here under avoidances, it can make a lot of difference on how your routing goes, and it can actually cause havoc on your routing, which you don't necessarily want. So whenever I do a new installation of BaseCamp, I immediately go to options and I deselect all of these avoidances so that they don't interfere with the way that I plan my route. Because yes, I will create a route from point A to point B that I want to go on holiday to, and I'll have BaseCamp create that for me. But from there on, I basically decide where I want to travel and how I want to travel and so on. What I have done and what has worked is that my wife has gone on a couple of outreaches with ladies where they travel by themselves, and they go with a Avis bus, and they don't necessarily want to go onto gravel roads and so on. So there I have actually selected road type avoidances, unpaved roads, and that has actually helped them quite a lot, and it does actually work where it will actually route sticking to existing paved roads, tar roads, and things like that. So that did work in that instance. But normally the suggestion would be switch all of these things off and don't enable them, because that can cause confusion and then you're not sure what is there. On some of the GPSs, you can create avoidance areas where you can select certain areas that the GPS must avoid. So you can, for instance, create an avoidance area, let's say over Soweto, so that whatever route you create, it will avoid Soweto and will route you around that and so on. I have not really played around with it quite a lot here, but I know in the CarTrack software, I've used it quite extensively where for people that travel to have them avoid certain areas or whatever the case is and so on. All right, so that is the driving profile that you can set. Now, if you change anything here, it will actually give you an option. Now, let me see if I change this to shorter distance. Okay. If I change anything here, it comes up with this setting here where it says the settings for the driving activity profile have changed. Some routes were created using the driving activity profile. Would you like to update and recalculate these routes? Selecting no will change these routes to use the custom activity profile and will retain their route settings. So what this is basically saying is that if I select here yes, it will actually go to all my routes in my collection and will recalculate them using the shorter distance option. If I choose no, it will change the symbol to the custom symbol, but it will retain the settings that was used in the original calculation. So I don't necessarily want to change everything. I just want to change it now because for the routes that I want to create now, I want to use shorter distance rather than faster time. All right. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to cancel, and I'm going to cancel. I'm not going to save anything in here. All right. Now that I've set my activity profile, I can now go and I can start to create my routes. Now, let me just slowly zoom out here again and give it a couple of seconds for everybody to be back on track. Now, maybe here I should rather go back to my clean database just to start off with a clean slate, so to speak. All right, so here we go. Okay, so what I've said now is what I want to show you now. The first option to create a route is by just to click the start and end points. Now, if I select the route tool over there, I can either select it from the from my icons over there, or if I don't see that, I can go to the tools menu here, and I will see all of them over here together with a shortcut key that I can use to select that. So I want to go to route, and now you will see that it actually opens up a little dialog box over here. It tells me that the map that I'm using is a Tracks for Africa map. My activity profile is driving, and now I can drag a specific point in here for my start point, and I can drag another point in there for my destination point. Now here I've obviously got the option as well to change my activity profile. I never use this, so I always close that. Or you can choose here to say, don't show this window again. If you want to play around with that, you're welcome to try that out. I prefer not to use it. So I'm just going to say there, don't show it again, and I'm going to close it. All right, so now you'll see that my cursor has changed to a little pencil, and I can create my route now. And I can say that, okay, I want to start the route from, let's say, that point over there, and I want to end up, let's say, somewhere down the bottom here. And it will actually go and will create my route for me. And on the left-hand side, you will see that there's my route that I've created, and it's chosen the best route for me. And you'll see by clicking on that one, the line still continues, so I can actually go here now. Now from here, just a tip, once I've clicked there, I can actually use the right arrow key. Let me just click again, sorry. And because I've clicked away, let me just click there again on the screen. I can actually, by using my arrow keys, I can now move around on my screen and go and select where I want to create my next point until I'm finished. Once I'm done, I can press the escape key and I can move back to my pan icon so that I can actually pan around in my screen. All right. Now you will note that I have created a couple of points for this particular route, but they are not sitting here as waypoints because they are not waypoints. It's just via points that I've created. So it will route me through those points, but it will not be an actual waypoint. Now, something to remember, you will see that when I created this route at this point, my zoom level, if you can see at the bottom here, is 30 kilometers. Now, on the scale of 30 kilometers, if I go to that point there, for instance, and I start zooming in, all right, I was lucky at this point where I selected exactly the same or exactly on the road. but just to show you quickly, and that will show you how, what you can do is if that particular point is not at the correct point, I can go to this icon over here that says move point. And by selecting that, I can actually change that point and move it. Now, 9 out of 10 times when you create a route at a very high zoom level, that is where it will create the via point. So when you start routing now, and you come driving along here, the GPS will tell you in 70 meters, turn right or go off-road and turn right, or whatever it will tell you. Now, I don't want to go off-road here. It is just because I created this point at too high a zoom level. So I will always, at my points that I've created, I will zoom in and I will make sure that I move it so that it is exactly on the road, like it is over there. All right, let me zoom out again. And let's go and look at one of the other points that we've created. The screen will be a bit blurry until I've zoomed in. And in this case, it's my lucky day. I have still selected exactly on the road, so I don't have to move anything. But if I see there that that is not the exact point is actually a bit further down the road, I can actually drag that point to further down the road and it will recalculate the route for me. All right, so that is the next option that I have. Let me just move back there. Now, again, if I go to my route over here on the left-hand side and I right-click on it, I will see the option show on map. Then it will automatically zoom out and will show me the whole route on the screen, and that is where I went to the 30 kilometer zoom that I can see at the bottom here. All right. If I double-click on that route now, it will open up this dialog box. Now let me maximize it, and you'll probably, this text is too small in any case. So what you'll see here is I've got different tab options over here. The first one is the properties tab. Now in here I can see that on this particular route I have 24 points, I have 4 via points, and the total distance is 563 kilometers. It gives me my course, and it says the moving time is 6 hours and 49 minutes, and the total time is 6 hours and 49 minutes. And here I've got my points over here. Now let me just minimize this screen a little bit here and just move it out of the way there. Okay, it is the smallest that it can go. But you will note that as I select an item on the left-hand side here, it will actually highlight it as it does on the side here. So if I select gravel 1, it will be on the right-hand side, and there it will highlight it and will actually show it to me on the screen. Now at this point, I can decide that little pippy that goes down there, it doesn't make sense to travel down that road. So I want to delete that. So I can actually go inside this properties box, right-click on it, and select delete, and then select the option recalculate, and it will recalculate my route for me. Now again, I've got another one over there. So I can find it on that one, and I can say again delete, and it will delete. Sorry, missed it. Delete, and it will delete the point and recalculate. All right, so while I'm here, now that I've created this route, you will see that on the right-hand side here, it's got this icon that says Insert Waypoint. So if I click in there, it will list me all the waypoints that is in my list that I'm busy working in on the left-hand side over here. So I can say here now, I can double-click on Fastrap HQ, and it will add it on my list, and I can actually go, while it is selected, I can actually change its position in my route to where I want it to be, and I can calculate it from there. If I move it here out of the way, you will see that there it went down to the airstrip, and it took my route from there. And in that way, I can actually do the add a waypoint in there. One of the other options I have is route directions, and this will now give me the directions. Now what I did, as I mentioned just now, my wife did a couple of outreaches with women that she traveled to Namaqualand with the flowers and everything like that, And what I did is I took this route directions, I printed it out, and I gave it to her on paper, just so that you can have a hard copy to say that those are all the turning points on the route. That's the distance to that turning point, the total distance. And obviously, she doesn't understand course and position, and that doesn't matter to her. But this is important, and I can print this out and I can give it to her as a hard copy. All right, route options. This is another place where I can change any. If I decide at this point I want to change now to another profile, or I want to edit this particular profile where I want to choose, for instance, a shorter distance. Again, it will ask me if it must do it for all the routes calculated or only for this one. So I'll select no, because I only want it for this one. And if I go back to my properties, it will now recalculate, and you'll look at the distance has changed now. If I remember correctly, just now it was something like 560 or 590 or something like that. So by selecting shorter route, it's changed it now to 503 kilometers. Okay, if you don't see this detail, you will see here is a little icon at the bottom here, more info. So if I take that out, you will see that I don't see that detail anymore at the top there that tells me what is the total distance, how long is the travel, etc., etc. So that is why I click that so that I can see that over there. All right, let me just go back to my route options. Now it's changed it. Let's change it back to driving, and it will do the recalculation for me. And let me just make sure. Edit profile. It's still a shorter distance there. Let's just make it faster. And let's just say yes. All right. So that is basically how I can create my routes. And from here, from this list as well, I can see that from my start point to my next point is 103 kilometers, and that is the duration. Up to my next point, or between my next 2 points, is 399, or let's say 400 kilometers, and that takes my total to 503. So this is now where I can decide that no, 503 kilometers in a day is too much. I need to break that up. So I need to find a point halfway in between that I can stop, and that is where I'll start to do my planning and see that, okay, on my route, K2 is not too far from here. So let me go here and zoom into K2, and let's see. Usually I will Google, but let's say this urban hotel looks like quite a nice place, so I'll create a waypoint over there for the urban hotel, and now it sits on the left-hand side over here. Now I will go back by double-clicking on my route, and for now, let me start here, and let's say, okay, I'm planning this route for 2021, and I'm planning it for August, and let's call it Somonet Rondry. Okay, so that will now be the name of my route. All right, now I can go to insert waypoint again. There's my urban hotel. I can add it in there, and it will list it in there. Now you will see that once I've selected it, I've inserted in there, there's an option over here that says optimize. Now if I select that optimize button, it asks me, do you want to keep urban hotel as the last point? I say no. What it will do, it will now actually take my point and put it in some logical order, so that I don't have to travel up there, come back here, go back there, and so on. So if I don't manually choose the correct order, I can actually ask BaseCamp to reorder it for me in a way that he sees fit, and that he thinks I should travel in, and so on. All right. What I can decide from here as well, this particular route, let me just move this a little bit out of the way. If this route is selected, you'll see this, it will highlight the route and will show those little red arrows that will show you the direction of travel. Now I can invert this route and have it travel in the opposite direction. All right, and for some reason it has now recalculated a different route that I can follow, and I can then obviously also decide, is that the route that I want to take or don't want to take. All right. So as I said here now, my total distance traveled is now 598 kilometers. So I will close this, and what you have noticed is, let me just open up this again. I don't have a save button over here. So anything that I change is actually saved automatically. So that is something that you need to keep in mind as well. And I use undo quite a lot to undo something that doesn't work right, or that I don't want to do, or whatever the case is. And that is how I usually do it. So just by closing that window, it will automatically save the changes that we have done. All right. So as I said, this is now my main route, to say that I've planned a route from that point up to that point. But now that is too long for me to travel in one day. I want to split that up into 2 separate routes. But as a baseline, I want to keep my original route so that I can refer back to that and see where it is and what it is. So what I will do is I will right-click on that route and select the option duplicate. All right, and then it says the route you are duplicating contains waypoints. Would you like to duplicate these waypoints as well? Now, I don't want to duplicate the waypoints. I just want to duplicate the route. So here I'll select no. I don't want to duplicate the waypoints, and you'll see that it has created my route now, and it has added a 1 over here. Now, as I've explained, all my data, okay, and now the first thing that I've done wrong, I've now started creating this route directly in my main library and not in one of my list folders. All right, so let me correct that quickly and select these points. Now, what I can do is, probably everybody knows that, but just to show, every time I click, it will select a different point. So I can select the first one, hold down the shift key, and select the last one. It will select everything in between. The other way to do it is to select one, hold the control key, and then I can select individual ones if I only want to copy certain ones. But in this case, I want to select everything, so I select everything, and it is in. I'm confusing myself here. It is in the training camp. Ignore what I've said there, because I've selected the top there. I thought that it didn't create it. Oh, that's right. My roots are there. Sorry. Let me go to my roots and move that in there. Just drag them in there. And now I can get back to my point. Sorry for that confusion. You will see that it is created. I've created that route called 2021-08 Rondry, and by duplicating it, it has created it as number 1. Now, what happens is, a lot of times, especially if you download information from your GPS, or you copy information to your GPS, I will have a waypoint for my house called house. Now, every time I copy that to the GPS, there is already a waypoint called house, and for some reason, it doesn't use the existing one. It now calls it house 1, and the next time house 2, and the next time house 3, etc., etc. So that can be a bit confusing. So what I can do now is, on this particular one, I can go now to its properties, open it up, and I can say here, this one I'm going to call day 1. All right. Now you will see, just to show you that, if I just change it to day, that moment is gone. All right, I will call it day 1. As a reminder, as I said, my list is sorted in alphabetical order. And when I work with numbers, the alphabetical order will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11, or 10, and then it will go to 12 and 13 and 14. So the order will not be in the right order. So that is why I always use leading zeros, so that it always starts with 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, so that when I get to 10, it doesn't sort 10 directly after 1. It sorts it after 9. But I can show you just now when we look at the bigger list. So this one is my day 1 of Rondry, and I've decided now that I only want to travel from my start up to Urban Hotel. So from Vastrap to gravel, I've selected the shift key and I selected those, right click, delete those points and recalculate. And now it says that this day 1 is now from gravel 11 up to Urban Hotel, 274 kilometers, 3 hours. That sounds excellent. I can sleep a bit late. I can take my time, do a lot of sightseeing. So that is great. So I can close that one now, and my day 1 is sorted. Now I will go back to my main route, which is the top one over there. I will duplicate it again. And I still don't want to duplicate the waypoints. And I will open up the properties. And for now, I will travel from the Urban Hotel because that is where I stopped just now. And I will take the first point and I will delete that. And now to create the second part of my trip. And in this case, it is 324 kilometers that I can see over here, which is also not bad. So I'm going to leave it like that and change that to 02. That will be my day 2. Sorry, and we'll have it sort correctly, day 2, and close it. So there's my day 1 route, there's my day 2 route, and those are the routes that I will be sending to my GPS when I want to travel. All right. So now I've covered a lot of points, and I started off by just clicking on the screen over there and clicking on the screen over here, and I started the route with that. The other option that I can do is that I know that I want to start at the Urban Hotel. I hold down my control key and say that then I know that I'm going to stop at the Visgaard airstrip, and then I'm going to stop at the Vastrap HQ. And once those are selected, I right-click on them and then say create route using the selected waypoints. All right. And now, if I go to my properties, you'll see that they are in the order that I've selected, and it has created a route for me from that point over to this point over here. So that is another way, and then I can do everything from scratch again to actually add points, delete points, or whatever I want to do. Okay, so that is another way from creating those routes. The other thing that I want to show you is now I've created these routes from these points, but I decide Excelsior looks like quite a nice place. I think I must go through that point over there. So how do I add it to my route? So I will keep that existing route that I've created. The one thing that I can mention, you will see that if I use existing waypoints, it will actually name it with the starting waypoint, and it will say from the Urban Hotel to the Vastrap HQ, which really helps in the planning stages. Once the planning is done, then I will start renaming them in that format that I've used at the top over there. All right, but now I want to manually change this route now, and that is where this insert tool comes in handy that I've got here. Or if I go to my tool menu bar, I can choose insert from there. So what I will do is I will click on a portion of the track, and you'll see it will open up these lines for me. And I can go now and I can click on any other point on the map that I want to go past. And it will recalculate me through that point. And you'll see now it is selected the last half of my track, but I can go back and I can say escape, and I can select the first part, and I say, but I want to travel through here, and it'll calculate my route, and I don't want to take that road over there. I want to actually come through this road over here. Okay, now it makes it a bit skewed because Excelsior is at the top there to take me in there and take me out there, but that is how I want to create my route. And now my waypoints, if I go back to my properties, I've got my waypoints over there, which I've created beforehand, and these ones is the via points that I've created in between that it will use for my routing. Now, what I have discovered is that if I use, now obviously, if I do the calculation using Tracks for Africa, it will give me one route. If I use the calculation using certain navigator, it will use another, it may use another route. If I transfer this route to my GPS, also using exactly the same map that I have on BaseCamp, chances are good that it will not follow exactly the same route. I drive with two GPSs on my dash. The one is the Nuvi, and the other one is the eTrex. And even with both maps on the two units, it will not calculate the route exactly the same. Now, the way I think is that behind each GPS unit or behind BaseCamp, there's some algorithms that actually says how these routes must be calculated. And I think for some reason, between the different models of Garmin, those algorithms are not exactly the same. And that is why it will create different routes and so on. Now, over time, I have learned that if I want to route from this point over here to that point over there, chances are good that it will choose any one of these roads that are in between here. So I will actually, to make sure that it creates the exact same route, I will create more of these waypoints, just to make sure that, now just escape, go to that segment over there, just in between there, I will create another one, I will go there, create another one, just to have a couple of points to make sure that when I copy it to the GPS unit, it will actually follow the route very closely to what I've planned. But then I must say, in inverted commas, that a lot of times I plan a route, and when I travel on the GPS, I see, geez, but this looks like a nice road, and it goes over the mountain over here because I can't see the mountain here. I want to try that route, and then I deviate from my route, and then I have to recalculate manually while out there. But at least in my planning, I've created the route as closely as possible to what I want to see it on the GPS with. All right, so that is by selecting my waypoints over here. I can then actually go and I can create a route from that. All right. The other one that I can do is that now, obviously, what I want to do now for this one, I want to show you. I actually want to go back to. Now, let me do this. Let me create another list in here. Let's call it new list, and I'm going to import one of my files into this new list. And I'm going to use this Hermanus one that I've got just now. You can see I can either import GDB or GPX, and I don't know if I've got it here, but I can even import KML files in here, but we'll get to that just now. So let's take that one, and I'll open up that one over there. And from here, you'll see that I have some tracks that I have. And again, if I right-click on that track and I say show on map, it will actually show me the track. Now, for you to just see a bit clearer, if you can't see that, let me double-click on the track. It will show me the track properties, and I will go to the top of the screen here, and let's make it red to change the color. All right, we change that. So there's a track that I've done with my trail running, but I want to create a route from that. So what I can do is, if I right-click on that one, you will see one of the options at the bottom here says create route from selected track. Right, and it will go off and it will calculate the route, and it will actually calculate the route that I can transfer to my GPS. Now, while it's busy with the calculating, one of the main differences I mentioned between your street navigator and your off-road navigators is that with a street navigator, you cannot copy a track to your street navigator and see that on your screen. So what you can do is you can take a track and you can actually convert it to a route and then copy it to your navigator and then see it on your screen. The only thing that I have experienced is that, like this one, for instance, here, that doesn't follow a particular route, the Nuvi really struggles to do the calculations and to actually show that on the screen so that you can see where you go. And that is where your off-road type unit, like the eTrex or any one of the others that we've seen, actually comes in handy. But then again, for that, a lot of times I don't even create a route from that. I just leave the track and show that visible on the screen, and it will actually go and it will create, I can navigate on that. Now, this is going to take quite a long time. So what I'm going to do is, let's go back to our training list over here. let's go and say show that on map, and I will show you something else as well. One of the items over here that I wanted to get to just now is new track. So I can actually go and I can go and draw a track on my screen anywhere I want it to go. Right, once I've done, I can press escape, and you'll see here on the left hand side it has created a track for me. If I open it up, it will show all the points, it will show me how far they are, and it will show me that the total distance is 12.3 kilometers and the area is roughly 4.8 square meters. All right, so let's leave it at that. So what I can do here now is, hopefully this will go quicker, I can right click on it again and then select create route from selected track, and it will go, it will create a route for me, and you will see there is my route. And similar to the other routes that I've created, there's my start point, there's my end point, 12.34 kilometers, and there's my route directions. Obviously, it doesn't show me the points in between, and that is why I prefer to navigate only on the track log, because then I can zoom in quite closely on the GPS, and I can actually follow the track as it shows on the screen. All right, so that is how you can convert a track to a route. Now, obviously, if your track is on an existing road, then you can let us do that. So let us say that I have got a track log, and that track log runs from there, let's say there, and then you can see what it does. And let's say that was my track log. It is created at track 001. If I go now to right click, create a route from the track, it has created a route. Okay, to the points I thought it would have created it on the exact same route. But I think when you go on the road with your GPS, it will actually start to follow the same route, but you can play around with that and see what it does on your system. As I say, personally, I don't use the routes too often. I just copy the track log to my GPS and I navigate on it with that. All right, and that is, in short, how I create my routes in BaseCamp. And you see now how I can take a track and I can convert that to a route as well.
Don, a quick question.
Yes, we are at questions and answers now. So let me just open up my screen so that I can see who I'm talking to. Yes, Remy.
Yeah. Just show me, you had that track, and then you clicked on 2 points, and then you dragged it somewhere, so recalculate. What tool did you click? I missed that one twice.
Sorry, just repeat that again. It's the one where I did what? What was when I created the track or the route?
So the track, we did a via. So on your
okay, all right.
lines, I didn't see what you clicked.
Okay, let me show you that again. Let me just go back here to one of our routes. Let's take that one over there. Let's say show on map. Okay, so now it has highlighted my route over here, and on my editing tools, there is an insert button over there. So if I click on insert, it will now, between my points that I've got on my route, it will give me that line. Or I can click anywhere between 2 points, and then I can drag it from there, and I can let it recalculate the route through those 2 points for me.
Awesome, thanks.